Welcome to the home energy overview. We're now going to drill down on home electricity as a source. What we do with electricity in our cars, in our homes later, we'll talk about that in later sessions. This session is about the source of the electricity itself. It's an introduction of energy. It's a focus on solar power and why this topic is important in a world of competing needs. So this is number 3 on the list. Hopefully you've finished the emissions overview, which is why we need to do the things that we need to do. Number 2 gets into an overview of all the solutions very briefly. Number 3 gets into the details. So here we are at number 3. All right. The agenda for this session is energy solutions. There's a variety of them. The new power plan, the emissions on solar, the cost of solar, and the benefits in conclusion that we will have. We introduced this in the last session, the fact that 3/4 of greenhouse gas emissions we can deal with here in the USA directly. 42% of the decisions that we need to make to deal with the green area, which is the areas that we can deal with that can be solved through electrification, are at your kitchen table. And most of these solutions are available right now. And the scope of this would be our vehicles, 253 million private vehicles, and 140 million buildings. The buildings are what we'll talk about, how to create energy for those buildings and how to create energy for those vehicles. So this is central, this is a foundation. These machines last a long time, so that's what we'll get to. So we'll deal at the bottom of this from the fossil fuel side to the clean machine side. So we're dealing with a fossil fuel intensive energy grid. And there's some renewable energy in there, but unfortunately not enough. And we'll talk more about that. Methane gas creates a lot of electricity today, oil as well as coal. So renewables, if we move over to the right side, if we have a renewables dominated energy grid, such as what they have in San Diego and San Francisco and Portland, Oregon, the impetus to go to solar is reduced. It's important, it's good to do, but it's not as critical as most places in the country and most places in Illinois, because the grid, when we look at the energy mix, that's what matters, and that's where emissions occur. To create electricity, remember that 23% of energy is electricity generation in the USA. That's what we're talking about here. So the clean and green renewable electricity is what we really need. And the tagline is we must stop burning things. This concept that it's normal to burn things is what we need to get away from. And solar is a foundation for everything we do. It's pretty hard to put giant windmills on your roof. It's hard enough for states to do this. So we encourage that, but what can you do? Well, solar is the foundation. We'll talk a lot about that. Reduce emissions over the electric grid, and it can save you a ton of money. So let's take a look at the breakdown in the state of Illinois. So about 52% of our energy is nuclear here on the right-hand side, 22% coal, 13% methane gas, natural gas. Wind is about 12% now, and other renewables would be about 1%, and solar would be in there. So we're not doing near enough. Solar has more opportunity to generate electricity on a worldwide basis than any other form of other source of energy. That's what Argonne National Laboratories had to say to us about a year and a half ago. So when we look at nuclear power, I did want to mention that it is clean. Some people would argue with me on that, but I do want to mention the fact that it is expensive. We have 6 plants, 2 plants in Byron and Dresden, Illinois, and we're subsidizing with CEJA $700 million to keep those running. In 2021, we started that. And we have another four plants at Clinton and the Quad Cities nuclear plants to the tune of $235 million in subsidies from the 2017 Future Energy Jobs Act. So we can say it's clean. It's a good thing, that it's clean and it's helping us, but is it permanent? Is this the future? And some would argue it is not. Okay, so now that we've seen where we are, let's take a look at solar, because this has the greatest promise according to Argonne National Laboratories. And we see here on a worldwide basis, it's doing fantastic. You can see in 2021 where we were on a worldwide basis, and ooh, geez, look what happened in the estimate for 2023. And you can see China's just going gangbusters with energy, and it's a good thing because that can help eliminate a lot of their coal burning plants. India really hasn't made too much ground versus the previous year or so. Asia's doing about the same. Europe is increasing pretty dramatically. North America has increased some, and that's good to see. And then you have Middle East, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and so forth. So the good news is it's really going well. And of course, we need it to even do better. Now, this is a plot on the cost per dollars per megawatt hour of coal. And you can see here, it's just over $100 per megawatt hour. Natural gas is so much cheaper, as you can see here in this picture, and nuclear is the most expensive form of energy. So when I talk about the subsidies that are going into our 6 new nuclear plants, it's not just that, we're subsidizing the most expensive form of energy. Now, wind is down near natural gas, it appears, and then solar was very expensive for, way back in the 70s and 80s. And you can see how now it's down about where wind and solar is. I'm sorry, wind and natural gas. And the good news is 86% of new capacity has come from clean energy. Half of that's been solar, and wind is about 25%. And battery storage is a source of energy because when wind and solar produces more than is needed in the grid, it goes into batteries, and then the batteries are used later when the wind can't produce the power. So it stabilizes wind and solar. And natural gas is about 15% of new add. And the last thing we want to do is add new forms of fossil fuel energy, which is what that is. That's why I put an X on that. We need to kind of stop doing that. And so what's the new power plant look like? Well, the old power plant would be the coal plant in Mercer, Illinois. It's still running, going strong, supplying 32 cities in the state of Illinois with mostly coal-fired electricity. And then we have Three Rivers Energy Center natural gas as well. Is that the future? Would those two be the future, or would we have an electric power plant such as on the top right here, where we take the wasted energy coming from the sun, bouncing on the roof of our homes and doing nothing with it except heat our homes? Or are we going to put panels up there and at least collect as much of the energy from the sun as possible? After all, the sun is the greatest source of energy in the entire solar system. Why not grab it and turn it into electricity for our homes and charging our own cars? So that's the new electric power plant. And people that do this, when they make extra power, which they do many months of the year, they sell it back to the grid. And this electric power plant is not only producing green or clean energy for the home, but it sells it back to the grid and is a source of power given back to the ComEds of the world and the Ameren energy grid. Now, some people can't put solar panels on their roof, and there's a Google and other sites that you can go to very easily to find out if your roof is capable of putting panels on there. Some people I know, they can't put enough panels to generate all the energy they need, so they put what they can on there. But for people that are in, say, 3-story apartments where you don't have enough roof to supply the energy needed for the entire apartment complex, well, they'll sign up for community solar, and this is their electric power plant. It's a solar farm, and the Jackson family may be getting their energy from this panel right here. Sunnyside Elementary School from this one over here, the corner store over here, type of thing. So either or works. It's clean. And when we look at the benefits of rooftop, 100% green, home value increases. So whatever spending, whatever you invest in solar, it usually increases the value of the home. Great incentives to do it. We'll talk about in a second. Electricity savings could be as much as 90 or more %. So in other words, most of your energy can come from your roof. Why not? And then still have grid access. So on days such as, in December and January, when you have a lot of dark days and a lot of snow and things like that, where you don't get enough solar energy, well, you still have grid access. And that's when you would buy from the grid. And then later in the year, when you have more sun, like in April, May, June, things like that, I'm sorry, months like that, you would sell it back to the grid, and that would cover your energy costs when you couldn't generate power. And many people will also install batteries so they have less reliance on the grid. And also that would be, backup solution if the power in the grid were to go down. Now, the other form of green energy would be community solar, of course, 100% clean and green. It's a solar project, but it's shared with other people. And you can sign up pretty easily. If your city can sign up, you should take a look at that if you're not going to put it on your roof. Expect about a 20% savings, between 15 and 20% budget savings to do that. So you don't save as much money than you would with solar, but also it's easy to do. It is less investment. So now, what would the electricity transition look like? Well, the average US home would produce 7,892 pounds of emissions, or 3.5 metric tons, according to the EIA, of pollution from the mixed energy grid. So in other words, the energy you get from the wall, from ComEd or Ameren or City of Naperville, it's going to be like this. And so this amount of emissions that you would have would be almost as much as a typical car. So it's pretty significant. Now, if you go on solar, though, and this is per year, by the way, so it's cumulative over time, right? So if you put solar panels on your roof, though, you're going to drop it down probably about 90% to 0.46. Of course, it could be a little bit more, a little bit less. In my case, 98% of my energy comes from my roof. So I'm doing even better than 90%. But that's kind of what it looks like. And when I say that solar and electricity is the foundation, everything that you do, like charging your car and everything, is best done on this. So we'll talk about that later. But what does it cost? So the average rooftop system, I'm told, is about a 5 kilowatt, 5,000 watt system would do the average home. And that system would cost about $15,771 before incentives. And so I don't really have a breakdown as to what the incentives would do to that, but we can estimate that. I'll take this suggestion from Kathy Clarkin from Accelerated Climate Solutions, where she took, here's a home in the bottom right, and this home would require a 10,000 watt system, which would cost about $30,000. Could be less, could be more, but about that. And then the federal tax credit with that would be 30%, or about 9,000. This happens to be in the city of Naperville, so they're going to give you about $3,000. And then the renewable energy tax credits, you would get these from the state of Illinois, which means for the 10 years into the future, they're going to look at the energy generation that it would be, and they're going to give you the money up front. So they're going to give you, when you sign up and you put solar panels up, they're going to give you $10,000 up front. So you're going to get some of it from the federal government when you file your taxes, some of it right away from the city, and about 10,000 from the state of Illinois. So the $30,000 system is going to be about $8,000. Now, a system such as this would often cost you about $110, $120 a month you would be paying in electricity. So that's about $1,500 a year. So the payback would be about 5.3 years to do this. So, in my daughter's case up in Wisconsin, she can't afford the solar panels that she put on her roof, but the solar panels are paying for themselves. So instead of paying the electric company for the energy, they're paying for the solar panels instead and getting electricity mostly free. So we need to think, we have to have a different way of thinking, a different paradigm about how we get energy and how we pay for it. So this is the example. So we can estimate this $15,000 system might well be about $4,000 out of pocket. So you'd have to finance that, and if you either had the cash, or you would finance that, and then the panels would typically be paying the financing payments essentially. So that's kind of a breakdown on solar power. Now, in my case, using myself as an example, we installed in March of 2020 And so I decided in October 2023 to look back 3 years and take a look at our savings. Now, the estimate was that we would save $3,476 over those 3 years. Now, and that would be to power our home and our 2 electric vehicles. When I took a look at the actual amount of money that we saved, it was about $3,200. So we're racking up about $1,000 to $1,100 a year in savings over what we would have paid for electricity. And then if we now look at the energy produced, our system is producing 98% of our power. So we look at how much is produced versus how much is used, that's the 98%. Now let's take a look at the emissions saved. Well, the emissions saved would be 27 tons of emissions would be saved, about 59,508 pounds of CO2, which is equivalent to about 60,000 miles. Now remember, this is 3 years, so that's almost 20,000 miles a year not driven, 2,728 gallons of gas not used, and 404 fully grown trees over 10 years. That's what it's equivalent. So, I mean, we can't put 404 trees in our backyard, okay? But what we can do is we can do things such as solar power, electric vehicles, things like that, that can save emissions to be equivalent to lots of trees, which is really a good thing. Now, I want to emphasize what is 27 tons? Well, a ton, 1 metric ton is 27 feet high, 27 feet wide, and about 27 feet deep, or about as big as a 2-story house. So when we look at this 27 tons, this 27 metric tons here, we're talking about 27 houses of emissions didn't happen. And we're not counting the car and these other things. We're only counting the electricity that didn't happen because we decided to intercede between us and the electric company and do solar power. So in conclusion, our home solar reduces greenhouse gases the moment you turn it on. Home solar sidesteps the largely nuclear and fossil fuel electricity generation in Illinois. Solar retains grid connectivity for sustainable power. No, don't have to worry. And then solar contributes to green energy by selling excess solar power back to the grid. You become a source of power to the grid. When you don't need the power, you sell it back to them. And then solar reduces grid energy stress and loads by decentralizing the dependence on the grid as your home and cars are electrified. So all of the electrification we'll talk about in subsequent presentations, such as what we would do in our homes, in our cars, okay, now would be provided largely by our roof or from a solar farm, okay, reducing the energy stress on the general purpose grid. So that's pretty important because a lot of people are concerned, well, if I get an electric car, I'm going to if everybody did that, we're going to overload the grid, right? Well, it is possible. Most grid providers like ComEd are doing a lot of things to improve the grid, and that is important. But the best thing you can do is to put solar on your roof and take yourself out of the stress on the grid as much as possible. Now, solar energy generation saves families monies, in my case, probably about $1,100 a year. And then solar energy is the foundation for electrification of homes and transportation. So the next couple of presentations we'll go through will build on this conclusion that we're making here. So it's our choice. Do we want to take the most powerful source of energy, the sun, and let it beat down our roofs and do nothing for our cars, and depend instead on these fossil fuel polluting machines that are generating all kinds of pollution and climate wrecking emissions? Or do we want to put panels on our roof and take that energy from the sun and use it in our homes and use it in our vehicles? Well, I would say we want to move to the right. So I explained in the last presentation these key references, a good summary from Leah Stokes on electrification in general, these links from Rewiring America, the Climate Reality Project, and how you can get your EPA carbon footprint. I won't get into detail here, except I'm including it for your reference. So we've now completed home energy solutions. We'd really like you to go on to electric vehicles and home electrification. Thank you very much. This has been the Climate Reality Project. Be the change you wish to see in the world.